Bases drop for another edition of Soccer Down Here. It's another week. It's another Monday, which means matches were played on the weekend. John here, Jarrett there. We'll get into your thoughts about Atlanta United and the Purple team, and a lot of your thoughts centered around a particular individual in the center. And so we'll get into that in just a little bit. We'll get into the weekend that was in Major League Soccer, and obviously we'll have our opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee CO. But outside of the opening kickoff, Jared Smith, what's going on in your world? How was your weekend?
It was all right. Just busy. A lot of games this weekend, a lot of weird games. Saturday was especially weird because what you end up with is, the first half of most of those games was just kind of meandering.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of like a roller coaster because the second half of some of those games just went off the wall. They were dumb and they were fun. Not the least of which was, and pour one out for our friend Jess up in, I was calling the Charlotte game, but the Charlotte game was absolutely bonkers because you get a late start because of the weather, because it's Florida in the summer. And then what happens is you get Charlotte scoring in the first minute, Miami taking pretty good control of the match. Charlotte scoring again just before halftime, one of the best goals of the weekend. And then Miami just scores 3 goals in the second half, including stoppage time. It was bonkers. That's what it was, man. It was wild. You had a lot of games this weekend that were just weird. Even late last night, I was kind of hoping you get a little more fireworks out of Vancouver and Portland late, but you still get a 1-1 draw out of that. So goals this weekend, a lot of chaos, a lot of fun, and the playoff pictures are in both conferences still wide open.
Yeah, we figured going into this season that both of the conferences would be muddled when it came to their playoff races, and they're not disappointing when it comes to who might be in, who is out, that kind of stuff. We'll get into all of that stuff coming up in just a little bit. Time for the morning kickoff. The opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee CO. And it's kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can follow them on your favorite social media platform of choice, either the Bird app, the Face Space, or the Gram, as the kids say. And we want to thank them because if you use the code SoccerDownHere15, and thanks to everybody who has used the code SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off of your purchase for everything Kickoff Coffee. The boss actually had some of her Kickoff Coffee this morning. I need to get her immediate feedback next time I talk to her about Kickoff Coffee. I think she went with the dark roasted Italian blend this morning. So we will get her feedback on Kickoff Coffee. And once again, a reminder, using the code SoccerDownHere15 helps you out. But once again, you also help out youth development. 10% of the proceeds for every purchase of Kickoff Coffee head toward youth development. Something very, very cool that they're doing at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. So for the morning kickoff, opening kickoff this morning, I'm going to go lower divisions. And in a couple days' time, and Jarrett, feel free to chime in. I have 2 particular leagues to discuss. I have the NPSL and I have the USLW League. And in the NPSL, it was the Southeast Conference final between North Alabama SC and Appalachian FC. And Appalachian FC put up a large number in Boone, North Carolina. And their work is not done because they now advance into the NPSL playoffs. They're playing the Alexandria Reds in Alexandria in the midweek. So your NPSL Southeast Conference champs, Dale Parker, head coach of Appalachian FC, putting up a large number. So they advance into the postseason. And the Tormenta women, South Georgia Tormenta women, go to Greenville, beat the Liberty with a big second half. They win 4-1. And if you haven't had the chance, leading into the semifinal, we caught up with folks from South Georgia Tormenta and the Greenville Liberty because that was the right-hand side of the bracket. Greenville, Tormenta, that was the right-hand side. You had McLean, and you had Minnesota Aurora on the left-hand side. Minnesota Aurora wins 1-0 on the left-hand side of the bracket. So South Georgia Tormenta FC women, They are chasing after a championship next weekend at TCO Stadium on the campus of the University of Minnesota, playing Minnesota Aurora. And you might remember the keeper for Minnesota Aurora, Sarah Fuller, the field goal kicker and the place kicker for Vanderbilt, who, after her time at Vanderbilt was done, went to the University of North Texas for an additional year. She has been between the sticks for Minnesota Aurora. They are the only unbeaten team in the USLW League. But South Georgia Tormenta playing for a championship this upcoming weekend, and they're having to travel to Minneapolis, Minnesota to do it. So congrats to Appalachian FC to advance as the Southeast Conference champs in the NPSL, as their playoff run continues as a top 25 team. And South Georgia Tormenta's women advancing to a national championship in the inaugural USLW season, but they're going to have to win on the road against a very, very tough Minnesota Aurora side to do it. So congrats to folks up in Boone. Congrats to folks in Statesboro, and it'll be great to catch up with folks in Statesboro coming up this week, Thursday night, Wild Wing Cafe in Statesboro. It'll be great to see everybody, anticipating a huge show. Be great to catch up with our friends from Tormenta, everybody down there in Statesboro. So it'll be great to see everybody Thursday night, and we'll be there with you until we'll be there on campus from 6 to 9, and we'll figure out what time the show is going to be, probably somewhere there in the middle. But 6 to 9, we'll be there at Wild Wing Cafe in Statesboro. It'll be great to see everybody and hang out with everyone Tormenta and everyone Georgia Southern there later in the week. But congrats to folks in Boone. Congrats to folks in Statesboro. That is your opening kickoff, your morning kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And it's Kickoff Coffee at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15, get 15% off of any purchase for Kickoff Coffee, but 10% of the proceeds head toward youth development. Very cool stuff at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, Jarrett, very cool stuff happening in the lower divisions. You know, we always kind of refer to it as the summer sprint when it comes to all of the other divisions going on that are having activity. But Tormenta playing for a championship, and now Appalachian FC chasing a championship.
Yeah, it's still funny to me that, we watched the Georgia Storm basically put the NPSL Southeast in a blender with the final kick of their season. And basically all they did was change the course menu for Appalachian FC, because it just basically, Appalachian still pretty much went world eater on everybody, but they just did it in a different order. And it was a 6-2 win Saturday. So yeah, just sounds about right.
All right, so let's get into the match that was at Mercedes-Benz on Sunday. It was the national televised game on Big ABC with Atlanta United and the Purple Team, and we'll get into the numbers here through our friends at SofaScore in just a little bit. But Jarrett, now that you've had the chance to kind of sit and ruminate on it for the last 15, 16 hours or so, what are some of your bigger takeaways?
It's another good defensive performance overall. You limited Orlando to practically nothing. They get a goal off a free kick that's going to be controversial for a while because of the way the communication broke down between Rivas and Rocco Rios Novo, or lack thereof of communication. The fact that it was a pretty generous free kick in the first place.
Yeah.
If there was contact, he was already falling down. But aside from that, like, you limited them to Pato going against the run of play in like the 90th, 93rd minute off the post, which would have been a sickening way to lose that game because Atlanta really dominated it. Orlando really didn't seem to have any interest in playing after they got that goal, especially. Like, I don't know how much they would have been coming out of the shell had they not gotten the early goal off the free kick, because they had possession at times, and this is a thing that people get mad about all the time. So, you know what? Yeah, let's talk it out, because this was a thing. There were stretches where Orlando had possession. They didn't do jack squat with it. And then once Atlanta got on the ball, Atlanta at times struggled to break it down, but then they started finding their rhythm, and they were able to find a bit of space to be able to try and break down Orlando. And, eventually you get the goal, then you get opportunities late in the game. You get Araujo denied. Pedro Gillespie made one of the best saves you will see this season off of Dom Dwyer, who still, I think, is still wondering how his shot did not go in the back of the net. Joseph hits the post. You had opportunities, you just didn't put them away. And some of that is, yeah, you want to see him like put it in the back of net. You want to see, Joseph take that one opportunity like especially against Orlando, where it's just, that's been what he does for so long. I think we were just kind of flabbergasted that he hit the post with it. It's a great ball. I believe it was Luis put him through. It's a great ball to put him through. He gets on the end of it, and it's a tight angle, and he really only has like one or two options with it. And I mean, it is just a couple inches off. Otherwise, a couple inches the other way, and it's hitting the post and probably kicking in. And then you're going home happy. But you want to see those go in the back of the net, because it's one of the, especially the second half, it's one of the better halves you've seen in a long time, I think, in terms of the fireworks and just the all out, insane energy that they played with. They played really well, and it sucks they weren't able to get that goal, whether it be it by, hitting a post, having Gillespie make the save of the week, or whatever it might be. It stings because there were 3 points there to be taken. Orlando did the thing that I've talked about before, where a team doesn't really want to do much.
Yeah.
And they get the early goal they need to not do much, and then they can kind of downshift.
Yeah.
And kind of put it in cruise control. The problem with doing that is when you do, most likely, give up that goal. In this case, it was Peralta scoring for Atlanta on the set piece. Again, Rivas, no clue what Rivas was. I have zero clues how Rivas expected to manage this game. I just know he didn't do a very good job. It's not even just the free kick goal with Rocco. It's the fact that, like, he was so unconvincing with some of his foul calls, like super late whistles, picking random times to get involved with the physical play, and other times not. It was just so inconsistent. It was very odd, but yeah, it was when Orlando, gets in a situation where Atlanta scores and Orlando has to get it back in gear. It can be tough to turn the engine back on once you kind of put it down and idle. And I think we saw that with him, and they got it turned on at the very, very end after they made changes. Pato comes on. Pato almost scores. You turned it on at the end, but man, it's tough to turn it back on when you turn it off.
Let's let me go into the numbers before we get into what folks were saying. And yeah, a lot of it has to do with Victor Rivas, and that includes our resident official, Bartimus Prime. But here's your final numbers. Possession 62-38, not necessarily a surprise, considering that once, as you said, Jarrett, Orlando got the goal, they just wanted to kind of sit there, and it's like, all right, let's say, how much time's left on the clock? Let's go ahead and get the work day over with. 18 total shots to 3, only 4 of them on target. To your point, 4 of them were blocked, so that meant that 10 of them were off target. 10-2 in corners. Fouls were 12-8 Orlando, and 4-3 in yellows. All of the green numbers on SofaScore, big chances, counterattacks, shots inside, all of that stuff was Atlanta United's. Gillespie had 3 saves. Rocco Rios Novo had none. Atlanta United on the day, 88% passing on 516 passes. For Orlando City, it was 81% on 319, 26 long balls to 14 for Orlando, 6 crosses to 2 for Atlanta United, 20 of 31 on the dribble. And we'll get into Marcelino Moreno's numbers in just a little bit. Possession obviously lost a little bit more by Atlanta United. Won duels 52% of the time. Won the aerials. They won 60% of those. 29 tackles for Orlando to 14 for Atlanta United. 29 clearances as well. Interesting symmetry there. Your lineup for Atlanta United, remember, had Joseph on the bench, had Thiago Almada on the bench, had Dom Dwyer on the bench, and they were all called in for the final 30 or 15 minutes, depending on who we're talking about here. Juanjo Purata finished with a 7 on the board, and he and Luis Araujo and Marcelino Moreno, they were the ones who had 7s on the day. Araujo and Moreno, 7.7s. Ronaldo Cisneros up top had a 6.9. Everybody else had 6s. George Campbell had a 6.9. Wiley had a 6.9. Mateus Usechu and Franco had 6'7". Zamar Sadic is 6'6". Aiden McFadden is 6'5". Rocco, with the goal being let in, has 6'3". Tiago Almada, 7'2". Dom Dwyer, 7'1". Joseph Martinez had a 7'1". Now let's get into Marcelino Moreno's numbers here a little bit, because when I saw it, he obviously set a new club record for this. 8 of 14 on the dribble, 102 touches, 72% on his passing on 53 passes, 2 successful crosses, 20 of 30 in ground duels. Jarrett, 20 of 30. I cannot remember any number that was as high as 20, period. And Marcelino Moreno and Gonzalo Pineda talked about this after the match with Wiley and with Marcelino on the left. They thought that there was something that they could take advantage of. 20 of 30 in ground duels. Are you kidding me with that number?
No, it's he's a bulldog, man. Marcelino, for a guy playing up the field more than playing back, he plays like a bulldog. And this is the second game in a row you've gotten that defensive work out of him where he's busting his ass and he's getting back and he's making plays and he's winning the contested balls. And that's what you got to do. I mean, we talk all the time about the duels, the Frank de Boer Memorial duels, but it's not, it's not just winning the first ball. And this is a thing we've talked about when they play Red Bulls or teams like Philadelphia or Red Bulls, either one, you got to win the second ball. It's not enough to just win the header or to win the first ball. You got to go win the second ball. And Moreno does a damn good job of it. I mean, that's 66% of the time he's going to win that ball, and he is going to put the other team in a fresh hell. That's what you want to see, and that's what you have to keep seeing. There's a couple plays late where I wish he would have laid it off a little quicker. But also, I mean, there's one sequence near the end of the game that pops into my head of what you get from him when he's winning his dribbles. And on the left-hand side where he's floating a bit, he wins a dribble. Wiley's over there. But when he wins the dribble against, I guess it was either the midfielder or whoever's playing right wing at the time, he beats them on the dribble. The right back has to suck in to Moreno and try and cut that off. And it leaves Caleb Wiley both with acres of space in front of him and no one immediately marking him. It frees him up when the defense has to collapse on Moreno. And it gives him an opportunity to be that guy to run at the box. So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those where there's times where you want him to be, I think, a little quicker depending on the moment. And every moment's going to be different. Sometimes it's not on. Like sometimes that attacking moment is not on. And sometimes it is where, okay, I'm going to pull this back and I'm going to wait a half second and I'm going to see if I can break them down and see if we can get more bodies in the box. And other times where we've got bodies in the box, full speed ahead, take the Nautilus deep.
Luis, and it was Juan that was the right back on the day. Facundo Torres and Juan were on that right-hand side, and so they thought that there were some advantages there. Luis Araujo on the 7.7 that he had wasn't too far behind. 7 for 9 on the dribble, 72 touches, 76% passing on 38 passes. 2 successful crosses, 2 for 2 on long balls. 10 for 17 on ground duels won. He won his one in the air, so 11 of 18 on the day. And he had 1 dribble pass, a tackle, a clearance, and was fouled twice as well. So just, looking at other numbers for the folks up top and seeing just how crazy it was in winning duels and dribbling past folks, especially for a club that was, who, if I remember correctly, you're flying in the midweek, you fly to Prairie Dog FC, otherwise known as Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City, Colorado. You fly from Orlando to Denver, you play in Denver, you play at altitude, you fly back to Orlando, then you fly from Orlando to Atlanta, play in Orlando. And it was their third match in 8 days as well. So there had been some rotation for the roster in the draw in Colorado. Then Orlando comes back. And you kind of had the feeling that if they were going to get that early goal and game flow, and Jarrett, you mentioned the XG numbers in our production meeting, where XG was off the charts and just the dominance of possession and play was there for Atlanta United this entire time. You figured that a team on the road that was tired, if they got that early goal, they were just going to sit there, slash the tires, tip the cow over, and not worry about it. And that was pretty much what we saw from Orlando. But to your point, that's the danger in doing something like that. If you have to turn the ignition on, sometimes it takes a little while for that engine to get warm, and you end up getting burned again. That was the 15th goal that Orlando has allowed this season in the final 30 minutes. They've only scored 5 this season in the final 30, so they're at a minus 10 in the final 30 minutes. And the final 10 minutes, frankly, was just absolutely bonkers, crazy, back and forth, and you may as well forget sitting down for that one. But it's the danger of sitting and camping out and trying to just navigate through it when you've got an early goal. Is that the other team's dominant and they're pushing and pushing and pushing. You get that moment from Purata, and it was his. I think it was his second goal in his professional career, and it couldn't have come at a better time as Atlanta United chase the equalizer. You want to get into questions or statement?
Yeah, sure. Whatever. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's go with.
It's a grim moment.
Well, but I mean, a lot of it. Let's just go to our resident official, Bart Keeler, Bartimus Prime 19, and I want to take Victor Rivas, and I want to kind of put everything off to the side. And you had kind of started mentioning it, but what we talk about with officials is what we want is consistency. You want to know how a game is going to be managed. You want to know what his vibe is going to be and how he's going to officiate a match. We got none of that in this match with Victor Rivas. And specifically, I know a lot of folks are looking at the goal. First off, as you mentioned, the foul at the top of the box that led to the free kick, which led to the goal because, dude was already going down. And it was easy to see that on replays. He was already going down before any kind of contact was made. You get a foul call, but there wasn't any early consistency from Victor Rivas, and you had no way to figure out, okay, is he going to call this? Is he going to call this? And just the judgments were all over the place. You got no consistency, and then it comes, and I guess that it was, if you're sitting there and you're thinking about, all right, how can we, in microcosm, describe what Victor Rivas was, as center ref? And Bart says it this way. Victor Rivas wasn't watching the same match as everyone else yesterday. When both teams score off free kicks and the defensive team looks confused as to why the kick was even taken, you've done your job as a ref poorly, and those were at the tip of the iceberg of bad decisions. So that's Bart's Victor Rivasian take for the morning.
Yeah, man. So like the Atlanta one, we know it's a very questionable. Well, the Orlando scores. Let's start there. It's a very questionable foul in the first place. Mm-hmm. He's already going down when George Campbell possibly clips him, and even then, it's one of those where when you're already going down, that's just it's tough to give that one. And then you have the weird communication with. Gonzalo Pineda mentioned that the referee was checking in and seeing with Rocco Rios-Nova, who's setting his wall. You just don't see a ref blow for, yeah, go ahead. He's setting the wall. It's fine. We can go. No, we don't have to wait on him. You just so rarely see that. I would love to know the communication there, because then he blows the whistle. We can hear it on the broadcast. Now, this is something that came to mind, and this is something I would love to hear from people who were actually at the game, because I wasn't, unfortunately. Rocco Rios-Nova was right in front of the supporter section. Somebody apparently had a whistle. Please don't bring a whistle to a game, y'all. That seems like a bad idea. It's a good way to confuse people, and I get you might want to use it the other way. Seems like a good idea, good way to confuse your own team. But you end up with, you end up with the drums behind him, a whistle potentially. Lots of noise. I would love to know if you could hear in the stadium, if you could hear his whistle.
Yeah.
Because we can hear it on the broadcast because you have parabolic microphones. If you don't know what those are, you've seen people on sidelines, what looks like a giant salad dish.
Yeah.
It's just a half circle, giant clear dome. Someone is standing there and they're holding it up over their head, pointing it at the field. It's a giant microphone. It's a parabolic mic. Parabolic mics can pick up basically a flea passing gas from 100 yards away. if you turn it up loud enough and you angle it right. But so we can hear it on the broadcast. I'm curious if Rocco heard it. I don't know, honestly. That's why I'm asking. Like, I don't know if he heard it or not. Because the way he was still marking up his wall makes me wonder if he didn't hear it or if he thought he had more time, or maybe the ref was blowing the whistle for something else, because he did have a tendency after that, is weird, to blow it dead before free kicks and corner kicks to go handle, guys bumping and grinding in the box. The goal Atlanta scores is weird in a different way because he pulls that thing back 2 or 3 times. Atlanta tries to take it, he pulls it back. Atlanta tries to go quick with it, he pulls it back again after the ball's already been kicked and moving. It was so weird. It was like someone setting a chess table and then somebody else is moving pieces and he's getting mad because the chessboard isn't the way he wants it to be. And then credit to Thiago Almada for putting an absolutely venomous ball right on Purata's head.
Mm-hmm.
Gillespie is going to feel like, in my opinion, I think if you ask Gillespie, he's going to feel like he should have come out for it. But I think as Perea doesn't really stick with Purata that well, so it's kind of the whole play is weird. Everybody's off kilter because this is the 3rd or 4th time you've taken it.
Fourth.
The communication felt weird. Yeah, man, all of it just felt weird.
Yeah. And so, you're not getting consistency in officiating. I mean, we can get into the Marcelino Moreno no penalty call, where Marcelino Moreno is trying to make.
I thought it should have been if you want to argue that he like let go and the contact was minimal inside the box, I'm okay with that. It should have been a free kick at the edge of the box. Now VAR can't go back and give a free kick there. But I thought it absolutely should have been a free kick on the edge of the box. And if he let go of that, and the contact seemed like, to me, it was pretty minimal in the box. Like he let go as they were going into the box. Now, whether that's just dumb luck that he happened to at the right time, or whether it's situational awareness, I don't know. It should have been a free kick on the edge of the box, because the contact in the box wasn't much to me.
Yeah, and so just the largest element for me in all of this was the lack of consistency and not knowing where the bar was. The bar kept sliding throughout the entire match. And yeah, when you're looking at this and being driven crazy by all of it. And, Tom Russo was asking about, whose blame it was for the OFYO goal. Trying to see who else had something in the Nathkovic says a bit of a crap call leads to the Orlando goal. 90 plus minutes trying to call it back. So yeah, that was the main topic that folks had this morning with everything involving Atlanta United. Glenn Meadows says, I've seen many say that the keeper has to be ready at all times, much of this coming from fans of other teams. So yeah, I mean, that's for Glenn, that does make a lot of sense that you would have other teams sit there and go, well, dude blew his whistle, you got to be ready. And, that's where Rocco Rios Novo is off to his left and gripping the post and trying to set it.
And that's why I'm so curious if he couldn't hear it on the field.
Yeah.
Because of the way he didn't react. Like I said, we hear it on the broadcast because it's a parabolic mic angled at it. I'm curious if he could hear it on the field, because if he heard it, he didn't react. It's like he's still setting the wall while it is running up. And I'm like, at the same time, also wondering, like, what are his teammates yelling at him? Like, hey, we got to go. And he doesn't react. Because the wall sees what's happening.
Yeah.
It's a run up and a great shot. It's also this, okay, let's stress this too, because I saw a lot of Orlando fans with the comment of, he might not say that anyway. Yeah, but it's different from shooting at an open goal. Mentality wise, is going to be different shooting at an open goal like that, because it's actually a damn near inch perfect free kick.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be. All he had to do was float it in, but it was inch perfect. You might not get inch perfect if you know the defender is going to be there because the wall's in place.
Yeah.
But this is why I'm so interested to know, like, was it a matter of not being able to hear it on the field? Because we have the benefit of a parabolic microphone that he might not.
Yeah. Let's see. What else was on the board? Michael Head, 4 points from a 3-match homestand, will not get it done. Good effort. Another disappointment. And obviously, you left a lot of points on the table. But once again, we're just past the halfway point of the season, and Jarrett, I know that you have been a part of this pragmatism as well. But you look at where things stand right now in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta United has a match in hand, as they did coming into Sunday. Match in hand against a lot of teams above them. Only 3 points out of a playoff spot. At least heading into the evening. Let me double check things really quickly here. It is, 3 points out of a playoff spot right now. And we knew that the East was going to be crazy in making sure that, when we looked at this at the beginning of the season, we were sitting there saying that the East and the West were going to be nuts. They're going to be crazy. You're going to have a lot of teams chasing after playoff spots. We kind of have figured out who the top of the ladder was going to be, and then folks chasing after 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Right now, you've got 3, 6, 7 teams separated by basically 2 wins right now. 5-11, or 5-12, really, if you want to include it. 5-12 separated by 7 points right now in the Eastern Conference. And we've got 16, 15 matches, depending on who we're talking about here for the remainder of the schedule. So, yeah, I mean, you left points on the table, but right now you're going up against your next match is against the LA Galaxy. The Galaxy, the wheels have come off of LAG recently. They've only won 2 of their last 10. They've lost 6. And Chicago is below you in the standings, although they seem to have figured things out, at least in the short term. They've got 2 wins in a row, but you don't really know which Chicago team you're going to be getting with new Chelsea pickup, Gaga Slanina, between the sticks. They beat Seattle 1-0, and then before that they beat Toronto 2-0. But once again, it's beating who you're supposed to beat below them in the standings. Lost to Crew 3-2. Lost to San Jose 2-1. So you're going up in the next 2 weeks, and you don't know which team you're going to be getting with Chicago and with Los Angeles. Just listen to post-game comments from Derek Williams, and right now you've got to steal points on the road. Michael is not wrong, but you've got to get points on the road for the ones that you leave behind at home.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, every home game is a must-win for Atlanta United, yesterday included. That's why it stings so much, because you were better than them on the day. You were really good. You were north of 2 on the XG. You hit the post. You had a couple amazing saves to keep you out. You were the better team. And what stinks for me is you didn't get the result you needed. But I harped for a month and a half or 2 months now of every time they've had a good performance. Okay, cool. You need to take that momentum and ride it into the next game. And they did for the most part. You give up the early goal in such a weird situation.
Yeah.
But then their heads didn't hang. They went out and tried to bury Orlando and damn near did it. And that's for me the frustrating part, is that you did build on it. You built on a really good performance against an RSL team that is checking the table. Hey, RSL still sitting third out west. Because I feel like people were kind of ho-hum, you beat RSL. RSL's third place out west. Granted, there's a sizable gap between 1 and 2 and everybody else, but they're still sitting in third place behind Austin and LAFC, and they beat the dog out of Sporting Kansas City, which get in line. But you had those 3 point those 2 extra points were right there for you, and you'd be sitting there actually. You'd be sitting in 8th place because you'd have the goal difference tiebreaker with Charlotte if you'd gotten those 2 points. But it does sting because it was right there, and you did put in the performance. You played your ass off. You built on it. And now you have to go do it again. But yeah, for me, every home game is a must win because of the points you've dropped and because of the gaggle of bodies around you. Now, like I said, you are currently 3 points out of the last playoff spot, and you have a game in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be in a situation in September where you've only got a few games left, and okay, well, we're only 4 points back, but there's 5 teams between us and that, and then we have to start looking at results and getting things going your way. You want to be clear of that.
Yep.
So where you control your own destiny, to do that, you have got to win home games. So that's why yesterday was so frustrating to me. You played well enough. You did all the right stuff, except put the ball in the back of the net. And a lot of it's on, Pedro Gallese just being out of his mind, which he's totally capable of doing. He's done it a number of times for Orlando. It's nothing new. Go look at what they've done in U.S. Open Cup in the past. The dude is go look what he does with, when he's down in Combat Ball playing international. The dude is completely capable of that sort of thing. He's an outstanding goalkeeper. Orlando's inability to play a consistent 180 minutes be damned. He's an outstanding goalkeeper. And he did his job. And that's what sucks about yesterday, is because you did enough to get the 3 points you needed. You just didn't get it because you got beat in that moment. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games left.
Yep.
You have 14 games left. You end it. Decision day is New York City at home. And John, will get into this throughout the week. Dante Castellanos looks like he's leaving New York. The Church of Tati is expanding overseas. This is our mission work to bring everybody to the Church of Tati. All are welcome, including you, Rich Ransom. You got 14 games. You want to be clear of that gaggle as much as humanly possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the hugs after Hudson River kind of mean that something might be happening, and he wasn't just happy to be walking off the pitch in one piece. Let's run through the Twitters real quick. Chris Kilroy, unlucky not to get the W, but hey, it happens sometimes. Let's see. We talked about that. XG, by the way, you had it after it was rearranged, 2.19 to 0.24. Swickster had that posted, and he goes, textbook lose draw. Emilio appeared to have stabilized, but we're still leaking points. So the fact that Pineda says we're back doesn't mean the players can relax again. I'm tired. No, that doesn't mean that they can relax. It just means that.
Nope. If you relax and you start dropping points again, then you're in a deeper hole than before.
Exactly.
There is no relaxing.
No. That is not.
We do not relax here.
No. And let's see, a couple of other points. Second point from Bart: find it hard to blame a fourth-string keeper, third-string right back, and a 17-year-old left back when any result doesn't go our way. These are the matches where our multi-million-dollar attackers need to convert their chances. And Jarrett, that was what you were talking about with Joseph in the second half and a couple of other opportunities. The chances were there. They just didn't put them in the back of the net.
Yeah, and Joseph came on and gave you what you needed. Cisneros, I think, was a bit gassed by the end of it when he comes off the field. But Joseph comes on, gives you that run in behind. It's a good ball to Joseph. He gets on it. He lines it up, and he's just a couple inches off and catches the post. Mm-hmm. And it's because it's a great run in behind from him. And if that's what he is right now, and that's what you're getting out of him right now, I'm totally okay with that. Yeah. Cisneros wasn't as electric as he was against RSL. That's going to happen. But if you're going to start him or start Dwyer, Dom Dwyer is still your Energizer Bunny. And if you're going to pick your spots with Joseph right now, mm-hmm. that right there is what you need from him, because I think he will put the ball in the net more often than not in those situations. He also he's credited as 2 big missed chances. It's that one, and then it's the one where Luis has the shot. And Joseph's in the middle of the box, and he just the ball hops back up to him really quickly, and he's trying to kind of side foot it in, and just it hops up a little higher.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Like, they called it a big missed chance. That ball comes back at him so quickly, and it's hopped up so high. I think that one's a little bit harsh to call it a big missed chance, but I'd have to go back and look at it to be sure. That one felt a little bit harsh because it's not like he missed a tap and that ball ricocheted back to him and he was trying to scramble on it. So,
yeah.
But if you're picking your spots like that with him, with saying, hey, give me 20 minutes of running in behind like that, cool. Yep. And if he works up and he can give you more of that, where he can be that guy to stretch the field, great. That's, I think, what you would like to work towards.
Yep. Last one from Glenn Meadows. Pineda does not have an easy job, as some players get bonuses for starting a certain number of matches. Haven't heard much of this pertaining to Atlanta United players, but I'm sure players think about it when it comes to getting a start. Glenn, I haven't heard about that for Atlanta United players. I don't know if it's there are any pay-to-play things in any kind of a contract involving Atlanta United players. I know that if that is the case, then yeah, it would kind of cause you to look over your shoulder a little bit. But I personally do not know of anybody that has any kind of a performance bonus attached, especially in a salary cap league. I don't know if any of that stuff is out there for Atlanta United players. But with 14 to go, they've still got things that they got to focus on. And right now, it's about getting into the playoffs in a cap league, and then once you get into the playoffs, then you can do your damage. So, thanks to everybody who has chimed in on the Twitters this morning. We always like to hear what you guys say, and we try to address it as best we can with the information that we've got, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So you've got about 10 minutes left. So let's get into the twos real quick before we get into everybody else in Major League Soccer. It was a rough night for the twos going up against the top team in the Western Conference in San Antonio, and Atlanta United 2 got to see why San Antonio is the top club in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they did. Actually, top team in all of USL. Louisville City's 42 points. San Antonio's 43. San Antonio's defense is suffocating. And now they've gotten a couple guys on loan to build that attack up, and you saw what the attack can do. It's also, I mean, it was such a tough situation for those kids to be in, because your back line is an academy kid, and Efrain Morales is back there doing stuff, who's a midfielder technically. And then you've got, Tony Tiente, who's a midfielder playing back there. Like, you didn't have Noah Cobb. You didn't have Nelson Orji. Grant Howard, as we know, is off at school. Just a lot to just a lot to go through, and then it's mistakes that hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And San Antonio is so suffocating. They really only gave up one good chance to Atlanta United 2, and that one is a really nice cross. I forget who. I think it was Mejia puts that cross in, and Brennan tries to side foot it. It's the right move by Brennan. It's just an outstanding save. The keeper's leaning right, has to shift all of his weight to the left, reach out with his hand and palm it away. It's an outstanding save.
And it was David Mejia, by the way. It was great work from Mejia on the left-hand side, and first touch by Brennan, and it was full extension from the keeper going back the other way.
And this continues that trend where Atlanta, they've been playing Mejia on the right wing back role with three at the back, and then throughout the game shifting him over to the left-hand side when Highmar comes out. Highmar was not available for this game, but being able to shift him over to the left-hand side, it's a different element of his game. About whether, it's a guy who's cutting inside on his foot, or whether it's a guy who's got in a right position where he can hit those crosses. But it's a tough game. It's San Antonio. It's the best team in the league and the best defensive team in the league, and they press the hell out of you. I think the guy who you really missed more than anything was Robbie Mertz.
Yeah.
Robbie Mertz as the rudder of that midfield, not being there, put a lot of pressure on a Johnny Fortune, and it was a tough game for AJ. It's a tough game to have to play, and it's one of those games where you're like, this is one of those challenges of being a twos team that they were talking about a bit on the broadcast. I wish they'd have gone into more detail because it's more complicated than they really wanted to or had time to talk about, in my opinion. Because it's not just a matter of having inconsistent game day rosters with the second team. It can be a practice. Guys get called into practice with the first team. Aiden McFadden was expected to be a part of this team throughout the season. He's playing with the first team, and it's a full credit to Aiden. He's played his ass off the first team.
Yeah.
But the injuries on the first team have impacted the second team as well. Grant Howard really finding himself before going to college. It's terrible timing there. But it's something that, they've shown, the second team has, that they can pick themselves up and dust themselves off. It's going to be a different animal when they play Tampa.
Yes.
Because they're going to Tampa, and Tampa's a team that's going to want to sit more. Tampa will cede possession and will wait for you to trip up, and then will pop you on the counter. San Antonio was trying to take your lunch money and your soul in one fell swoop, and they were really good at it. It's been, it's been a couple of tough games for Atlanta United too, because you get, the tie with El Paso Locomotive where, you felt like you had it won, and then you give up the late free kick goal after you probably should have put 4 or 5 past them. You get the Birmingham Legion one, which was a really good, scrappy comeback against what is now a very good Birmingham team. The Tulsa one hurts because it's a goal against the run of play after you were up a man. And then you have this. Now you got to go get it back on track and fight against Tampa. And we know Atlanta can fight. We know because they went out to Oakland and put up a damn good fight with the Roots. Don't let the 3-1 scoreline fool you.
Yeah.
It's one of the most egregious penalties you've seen all year that unfolds that game, and then that makes it 2-1, and then Atlanta gives up a third against the run of play or with the run of play late, where you're in that mindset of we either going to tie this game or we're going to lose 3-1. It's going to be 2-2 or 3-1, and it ends up being 3-1. You get Tampa, then you get to come home for a quick visit against Vegas Lights, then you have to go to Birmingham, then you have to go play the Baby Bulls, who are the worst team in the league. By the way, they only have one win this year, I think, and it's against Atlanta, or two. They have 2 wins now. One of their only wins is against Atlanta United 2 early in the season, where Atlanta was playing down a man.
The other was last time out against Indy 11 over the weekend.
Indy 11's hard to picture, man. Indy 11's weird.
They've lost 5 in a row. The Wheels, I think, it's like you're trying to.
Yeah, the Wheels are somewhere about a mile back on the side of the road in a ditch.
Yeah. So going back in form with Indy 11, Indy 11's only won 2 out of their last 10. They've lost 7, including 5 in a row. So
that's not something you want to hear with a team that's not a second team.
No, and Indy was, they were in playoff contention, and now they have fallen off the cliff, and they're right now 7 points out of a playoff spot. They're in that second group. They're in the lead of that second group that we have in the East Conference, where you've got everybody who's in the playoffs. Then you've got that second group, and then you've got Charleston and Red Bulls 2 behind Atlanta United 2. But yeah, second win of the season for Red Bulls 2 on the weekend. Red Bulls 2, by the way, they've given up 39 goals this season. They've only scored 10.
Atlanta's given up 54.
And yeah, but
Atlanta also has been playing midfielders in the back because they don't have any more defenders.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like with Atlanta United 2, your Jack Collison is trying to come up with a roux with whatever's in the cupboard.
He's done good work too. He has found a couple of combinations that really have worked, especially in the offensive side. San Antonio, what they did so well was they cut out Tristan Traeger. They basically put an oxygen tent around Traeger and Jackson Conway and Darrell Mateus and made it really tough for them to be able to do anything. It was a tough matchup, and it's something that they're going to have to learn from and build off of.
Yeah, just to go through the starting 11, you mentioned how short the bench was. It was only 5 on the bench, and one of them was a backup keeper in Justin Garces. You had Reyes in net, Centeno, Prince, Tiente, and Morales. Johnny Fortune wearing the armband to start, David Mejia and Nicholas Firmino, and then obviously Darwin Mateus, Tristan Traeger, Jackson Conway. Your bench only had Brendan Lamb, Emanike, Jonathan Vial, and Luke Brennan. So a 4-position player bench going to San Antonio. And if you haven't had the chance to keep an eye on San Antonio, they've only given up 14 goals this year. The best defense in USL championships, and they are 1 goal ahead of Lou City. San Antonio's given up 14 and 18 matches this year. Lou City's given up 15 and 19. Lou City's finally hit their rhythm after their hiccup start. But yeah, San Antonio right now, you're looking at probably the lead contender out of the Western Conference. I know a lot of folks are looking at Colorado Springs as well, but yeah, you're looking at San Antonio in the West. You're looking at that gaggle up top in the East. Pittsburgh finally has figured things out after their stumbles on the road. But it's Lou City, Tampa, and Memphis 901. Then it's that second group that could come up and bite you in the East. But right now, San Antonio's putting up some really tough stuff in the West. And so, Jarrett, I guess this means we will save the MLS recap for tomorrow. I guess I have to read a promo now. And as promised, here is said promo. It's for our friends at Eliminize Service. Eliminize Service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. It makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Eliminize Service, kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. We like that. Different than Febreze or our other favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because when you reach under the sink of choice, you pull out the masking agent, you spray it in the air, you're just masking the odors. That's why it's a masking agent. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule. like our friends at Eliminized Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy by using either cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that is affordable for you. Eliminized Service offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's their website, Eliminize.com. But do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta. So that way they know what part of the world that you are contacting them from to ask about Eliminized Service. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminized Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Let's take a tour around the world and let you know what's going on with transfers and such as everybody's getting ready on their tours and everybody is trying to figure out what their rosters are going to look like. Gabriel Jesus has scored for Arsenal, so everybody in Arsenal's happy. If you're a Gunners, if you're a Gunners fan, or if you're a Gooner, Arsenal also confident on a Zinchenko deal. Right now they're looking to try and conclude the deal early this week. Understood the total transfer fee for the Ukrainian international worth in the neighborhood of £30 million. Personal terms not expected to be a problem. He has spent over 6 years at Manchester City after coming from the Russian side Ufa. 25-year-old, coached by Mikel Arteta during the manager's spell as an assistant to Pep Guardiola. He can cover you at left back, cover you in central midfield. Looking for a left-sided defender, trying to sign Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, but as we know now, Lisandro Martinez is heading to Manchester United. Last year, to give you an idea about Zinchenko per 90 minutes, ranking as a fullback, first in passes completed in the final third, first in passing accuracy at just under 91%, fourth in forward passes, and fifth in assists last season. Manchester City also wants to bring in a left back, and they remain interested in Brighton's Marc Cucurella, as that has been going on for basically the last month. And Cucurella joined from Getafe for about £15 million. Brighton doesn't want to let Cucurella leave. It would take a big offer for them to sell because he has 4 years left on his deal at the Amex. Bernd Leno. Talks are continuing between Arsenal and Fulham over the sale of Bernd Leno, but valuation seems to be very, very different. Valencia interested in signing Arsenal midfielder Lucas Torreira. Torreira has entered the final year of his contract. Arsenal are listening to offers, having spent the last 2 seasons on loan at Atletico Madrid and Fiorentina, and clubs in the Championship and the Bundesliga also interested in striker Valérien Balogun on loan. He is on the preseason tour. Mikel Arteta will decide if his development is best served at Arsenal this season or on loan someplace else. West Ham is in advanced talks for Chelsea forward Armando Broja. Southampton is really interested in Broja, considering what he was able to do for them last year. And West Ham also waiting a response from Lille over the potential transfer of midfielder Amadou Onana. Have you seen Barcelona's Twitter account? Barcelona's Twitter account has been lighting up with pictures of Robert Lewandowski in a Barcelona pullover. It looks like he's trying to be like Mitch Buchanan on Baywatch, standing in a guard shack on the beach. He joined them in Miami after sealing the £42.5 million move, and so that's what it's like. Yeah, we'll go to a guard shack and we'll shoot Robert Lewandowski, and so now Lewandowski's on Twitter. And congratulations to the happy couple on his recent marriage. Matthias de Ligt looks like he's going to join Bayern from Juve for £68 million. The price tag on the Manchester United Lisandro Martinez deal looks like it's $57 million. And also on the board, you've got questions as to whether or not Manchester United is going to wait for Frenkie de Jong. And the deferred payments, as we've been talking about for quite some time, that has been the big difference here, the big issue. Apparently, de Jong is owed between 14 and 17 million pounds. And so that seems to be one of the bigger thoughts right now. It's like you got to get that taken care of before Frenkie de Jong goes anywhere. Darmish Seth at Sky looks like Jesse Lingard is expecting a decision very soon. Interest from Premier League clubs, offer from Saudi Arabia. West Ham has an offer on the table. DC United is part of the discussion as well with their new boss, some guy named Rooney. So interesting to figure out what we see with the future for Jesse Lingard. Touring the papers overseas, Chelsea growing increasingly confident, according to our friends at the Mirror, of beating Barcelona to the signing of central defender Jules Koundé from Sevilla. Thomas Tuchel believes Kalidou Koulibaly can be Chelsea's new Thiago Silva. And Mikel Arteta has admitted that the presence of the Amazon cameras were demanding, in quotation marks, after Arsenal were filmed throughout all of last season for the series that's going to air on Prime. The Bayern has reached the verbal agreement with Juve to sign Matthijs de Ligt for the fee that could reach €80 million or £68 million. We'll keep an eye on that. And Manchester United, in addition to Frenkie de Jong, still remain hopeful of signing Antony from Ajax. Daily Star. Apparently, Raheem Sterling has been caught on camera snubbing a fan who wanted him to sign a Manchester City shirt after he signed with Chelsea. Same thing with Matt Turner in his last match with New England Revolution, remember, where Matt Turner, apparently somebody wanted him to sign a Spurs jersey, and Matt Turner was like, nope, kept right on going. Nani has apparently revealed Cristiano Ronaldo has been avoiding his calls recently amid speculation about his future. Manchester City youngster James Trafford joked he'll splash out on more ice cream, end quote, after landing a bumper new deal with the Premier League champions. Rangers closing in on the signing of Liverpool defender Ben Davies. Women's Euro notes England have managed to avoid picking up any fresh COVID infections after Serena Wiegmann's positive test. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Aaron Moy closing in on a move for Celtic as a free agent, according to our friends at the Daily Record. Checking in with some of our mostly followed folks on the Twitters from CBS Sports' Ben Jacobs. Plenty of interest in Croatian left-back Borna Sosa, allowed to leave Stuttgart for about £20 million. We mentioned Mark Cucurella for Manchester City. Jacobs says that Bayern is also interested in Sosa. Cucurella is Pep Guardiola's preference. Wolves and Chelsea have looked at him in the past, so keep an eye on that. West Ham's closing in on Broha. West Ham trying for an outright purchase for around €30 million, or £30 million, but they may have to settle for a loan. This was interesting from Chelsea. Chelsea has confirmed Tom Glick as their president of business. You might remember him from his time with the Carolina Panthers front office. He's going to assume day-to-day operational control. Glick refers to Chelsea as an iconic sports institution and has been impressed with the vision and mission of Todd Boehly and Clear Lake. According to Jacobs and the release from the club, Glick will drive both brand and revenue growth and focus on fan engagement on and around match days. Stamford Bridge redevelopment plans don't look to just modernize the club but enhance the way fans consume football. Glick will play a significant part in that transformation. Also tasked with growing Chelsea women and globalizing their brand with cross-team activations and sales independently, asked to champion technology. So Tom Glick goes from David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers organization to Chelsea as their president of business. Thought that was an interesting one this morning. Chelsea is going to have more Kimpembe and Koundé talks this week. You have personal terms not a guarantee with Kimpembe settled in Paris. Gaultier has told Kimpembe it's his decision, even if a fee is agreed. Chelsea currently view PSG's £50 million price tag as too high. Koundé's transfer all depends on Sevilla looking for a bidding war. Chelsea reluctant to pay the £69 million release clause or close. Barcelona and others are kind of hanging out, keeping an eye on what's going on there. So we'll keep an eye on that particular set of moves and whether or not any of that stuff is going to happen. Interesting note from Fabrizio Romano. AC Milan have now announced the agreement in place with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a new deal signed until this time next year through the end of the season. Zlatan will turn 41 in October, and he will stay at Milan for one more year. So that's an interesting one there. Obviously, playing for one more season. Salary around €1 million to €1.5 million net guaranteed, plus add-ons depending on his performances. Glenn, like you were discussing earlier, it's just, situations like Zlatan coming off of surgery, where you have performance elevators in contracts. Inter and Juve fighting for Gleason Bremer. Inter will meet with Torino's player and the player's agent. Final bid will be €30 million in add-ons. In case Inter won't agree with a fee with Torino today, Juve ready to hijack the move. Keep an eye on that. Rafaela Pimenta, Matthijs de Ligt's agent, is in Turin today to meet with Juve to complete the paperwork for the €70 million plus €10 million add-ons with Bayern. De Ligt is supposed to, according to Fabrizio Romano, sign with Bayern through June of 2027. Paulo Dybala has landed in Portugal to undergo medical tests, then signed the contract as a new AS Roma player. So Dybala and Roma. Napoli not giving up on their Kim Min-jae deal despite verbal agreements with Rennes last week. Napoli's working on it. New direct talks will take place in Istanbul, as Gianluca Di Marzio is reporting. Calvin Bassey, the new player for Ajax, set to sign his contract today, valid till June of 2026 with an option for a further year. Done deal since Saturday, according to Fabrizio, to be unveiled soon. Looking at your schedule for today, it is the African Championship for women's soccer, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock Eastern Time, your playoffs. Zambia and South Africa. Zambia is a plus 293. South Africa is a plus 110. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 177. Morocco and Nigeria are going to have a 4 o'clock kick. Morocco's a plus 216. Your draw is a plus 192. Nigeria to win is a plus 129. These are the semifinals. Morocco advanced by beating Botswana's women 2-1. Nigeria beat the Cameroonian women 1-0. Zambia 2-1 winners over Senegal. South Africa beat Tunisia by the score of 1-0. So we are that close to the finals. We're in the semifinals of the African Championship for women. And so those matches are this afternoon. We'll keep an eye on those as well. Also on the board, you've got a bunch of friendlies going on. You have the Euro on the women's side. Iceland and France are at 3 o'clock, as are Italy and Belgium, last day of the group stage. Iceland is a plus 752. France is a plus 400 to draw. 90-minute draw is a plus 400, and France to win is a minus 303. Italy at 3 o'clock playing Belgium. Italy's a minus 123. Belgium's basically a plus 300. Your draw is a plus 272. Looking at your standings here in Group D, and this is what you're looking at here. With Iceland, Iceland has drawn both of their matches, and they're going up against France. You have 3 teams chasing after the second spot. France, they're in. Doesn't matter what happens today. They are at 6 points. They've won their first 2. Goal difference of plus 5. No one can catch them. Iceland is at 2 points with their 2 draws. Belgium and Italy have both drawn and lost to France. Belgium right now, goal difference of minus 1. Italy's going to have to make up a big goal difference of minus 4. Since they play each other, you could get that big swing. But once again, with Iceland playing France, Iceland, they've got to get some work done. Does France really care? Be interesting to see what happens with that particular matchup in the Euros, the last day of the group stage before we get into the knockouts after what we see today. In England and Austria advance out of Group A. England ran the table, scored 14, didn't give up a goal. Austria 1-2, giving up only 1 goal, but only scored 3. Norway and Northern Ireland go home. Germany advances, winning all 3 of their matches in Group B. Spain is the number 2. Denmark and Finland go home. Sweden and the Netherlands advance with 2 wins and a draw in Group C. And Sweden had better goal difference, plus 6 to plus 4. Switzerland and Portugal go home. And so now we are looking at what's going on with Group D, and that will get us into the knockout stages across the board in the Women's Euro. You can catch that on the ESPN family of networks. Liga Femenina is going on in Mexico this afternoon, Puebla and Pumas. That one is a 4:45 kick. You have the Copa America for the women's side. Today you have 2 matches at 5 and at 8. Venezuela and Brazil. Brazil obviously big favorites, north of minus 1,100. Peru and Uruguay is at 8 o'clock. That one, Peru is a plus 303. Your draw is a plus 271, and Uruguay to win is a minus 128. Looking at your standings in the groups, it is right now Colombia have won all three of their matches. They're at 9 points on top of Group A. Chile, 2 wins and a loss. They're at 6. Paraguay, 2 wins and a loss. Worst goal difference. They are third currently right now at 6 points. Ecuador at 3 points. Bolivia's lost all 4 of their matches so far. Group B catching up with their matches. It is Brazil having won their first 2. Argentina has won 2 of their first 3. Venezuela has a worse goal difference. So Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, all at 6 points right now, heading into action in a very, very tight Group B. Peru and Uruguay have lost all 5 matches that they have played so far in the Copa America. So the Copa America going on today as well, late this afternoon and tonight, in conjunction with the timetables with the Women's Euro. Other action in the Liga Femenina tonight at 8 o'clock, Toluca Pachuca and Leon and Atlas. You've got MLS Next Pro going on, CONCACAF W. That is going on tonight with your championship and your third-place game. 7 o'clock, Costa Rica plays Jamaica. Costa Rica is a plus 127. 90-minute draw is a plus 237. Jamaica is a plus 181. USA and Canada at 10 o'clock. USA is a minus 133. Your draw is a plus 254. And Canada is a plus 333. So CONCACAF W on the CBS family of networks. You can keep an eye on that on Paramount Plus and their coverage on CBS Sports Network as well. So 7 and 10 o'clock, USA women and Canada women. That one is at 10 o'clock tonight. Liga MX has Monday Night Football, Pachuca and Mazatlan. That one is at 8 o'clock. You've got Argentina, Chile, Colombia, a lot of action going on, plus USL Championship After Dark on a Monday night at Torero Stadium. San Diego Loyal and Colorado Springs. San Diego Loyal is a minus 108. Colorado Springs is a plus 280 to draw. Now, both teams are plus 280 to draw. Colorado Springs is a plus 222 to get in the room with a win. Looking at the standings in the West, we talked about it a little bit with Jarrett, and with how tight it is in the West, Colorado Springs 5 points ahead of San Diego Loyal. Right now, Colorado Springs 13-0-6. They've not drawn a match this season, so it's either a win or a loss for Switchbacks, and they're 5 points ahead of San Diego Loyal, same number of matches played at 10-4-5, 39 points to 34. Coming up tomorrow, we will have our weekly reviews of the USL League One and USL Championship for you. And keep an eye on the news out of the NPSL and USLW once again with the NPSL heading into the playoffs. We'll keep an eye on those. And with USLW heading to their championship game in Minneapolis on the weekend, South Georgia Tormenta, Minnesota Aurora, chasing after a championship in the inaugural season of USLW. Very, very busy week. We're trying to catch up with the friends down at USL NOLA and see what it's like to put a franchise on the board, see what it's like to get ready for life in the USL Championship in a couple of years. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. So very, very busy week here on the network, and we will discuss things as they come across the table. Tomorrow, Jarrett and I will go over everything in Major League Soccer and see what's on your mind as well as we talk about everything going on here. Very, very busy time. Multiple leagues across the board here at Soccer Down Here. So thanks for being a part of it, as you always are, reaching out to us on all of the social media channels. Thanks for everybody here who has been with us over as long as I can remember, since this is our 6th season. But thanks to all of you for being a part of the SDH family every single day, that we put content out there for you for showing what's going on here in the soccer world across the U.S. and the world. So, and there might be some surprise programming here as well to kind of catch folks back up on some things. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But a lot of programming here this week, in addition to the morning updates with Jarrett Smith and myself. Remember, we're in Statesboro this weekend, and that's later this week on Thursday at the Wild Wing Cafe in Statesboro. Going to be great to see everybody down there in the borough to talk Tormenta and talk about the growth of the game there on multiple levels there in Statesboro. So for Jarrett, thanks again to everybody who's chimed in this morning on the Twitters. For all of you, for Jarrett Smith, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy your Monday. Mucha plata, y'all.